Welcome. This is Taurus season for anyone who is like me and has a desire and an interest in moving rhythmically, joyfully, beautifully through their days, their life, their year. This is going to be a really, really fun month for you. Taurus season is a lot about earth energy and earth energy around certainly Mother Earth, but also a sense of coming home to our bodies, coming into soil, touching in to our roots. And so Taurus in the wheel of the zodiac falls after the fire sign of Aries, the ignition of spring. And so in Aries season, we were exploring the creative process, the creative fires and how to sustain them. And in Taurus season, in the time of Earth, we are touching into the beauty way, the return back to soil. So everything that we've been igniting, our ideas, our thoughts, what is it that is actually crystallizing into seeds that we are now planting into the soil of our lives, and maybe even your physical garden if that's something you're doing? Because now starts the matter and the material cultivation of whatever ideas that we had or we were exploring in Aries season. So coming home, coming back to roots, coming back to soil, this this is a this can be very hard for a lot of people, especially if you don't know what it's like to feel at home in your body, or it's historically not been safe for you. So through Taurus season, we're going to explore a path called the Beauty Way. I first heard about the Beauty Way from a Navajo elder. And as I didn't stick with the tradition from the Navajo people, but in a lot of the other traditions that I've sat with, every wise and ancient tradition has a path home to love. So another way I understand the Beauty Way is the way of love, the path of love. And so in the time of Taurus, this Taurus energy is ruled by the planet of Venus, and Venus is commonly associated with love and beauty, but the essence of Venus is in the mechanics of how we relate to our physical bodies, how we relate to perhaps our biological mothers, or the element of mother, certainly how we relate to Earth Mother in itself. So Mother's Day, for example, falls in Taurus season also. But a big part of this is our relationship with the feminine principle. And this is not feminine in terms of gender, but feminine in terms of the two animating principles that animate all life on earth, the masculine principle and the feminine principle, coming together to birth creation. And so we can say that the masculine principle could be our mind, and the feminine principle is our heart. And so how we relate to our mind and our heart, and how in fact our mind and our heart are in relationship with each other, is actually what animates how we are the gardeners and how we cultivate our life, our days, and our life experiences. If you've ever spoken to someone who is attuned to gardening, attuned to planting seeds, whether it's crops or whether it's ornamental flowers, this person will be very aligned and in harmony and in tune with the season, the weather. Like in the spring, a day of frost, like they will know what that means for the health of their garden. And they are less concerned with what they think the weather should be and more concerned with how to support whatever it is that they're cultivating so that it has longevity and it lives. And again, this is all very practical. This is hands in the dirt. It is not so much in the ideation or idea and thought realm. And so in the Beauty Way, when we're coming to the path of love, the path of the heart, we may have to face some realities. Oftentimes, it is very common that our hearts are walled off and closed off because we've had a series of unpleasant experiences, and our mind, that is actually supposed to be in service to the heart, sort of becomes its the mind starts to serve as a protection force, but then that protection quickly devolves into being a jailer. This is where our mind imprisons the wild, free, attuned, connective nature of our hearts. And we start becoming smaller. We start feeling like we have to protect ourselves from life and from the world. And this severely distorts how we relate to ourselves, to others, and in fact to the environment. So one of the one of the tenets of the beauty way is in fact honoring the relationship with the environment. And so this month we're going to explore some of the different tenets of the beauty way. Every week I'll introduce a new tenet, and one of the ways I was taught to embrace and learn the beauty way is to learn to interface with different plant essences, gifts directly from the earth, our plant and animal brothers and sisters, and in the interfacing, come to know and come to learn what it is, come to learn something about me that has been closed off, and it might have a good reason, but come to learn what is closed so then I can choose when and how to open back up again. And so the theme today specifically, we just started Taurus season. We're still in the month of April. There's a lot happening, in the earth, on the land, in the lives of people, in the lives of our economies and our politics, and just certainly our everyday lives. And we have a new moon in Taurus coming up as well. So again, some of these Venusian themes of relating and connecting have been coming up. And in sitting with them, I was gifted the reminder of rose medicine. So this is a rose I was gifted last year, and I dried it, as you can tell. And it still holds a very subtle fragrance, even though it's been many, many months since I've had it. Rose medicine is interesting. Now, certainly there's the common association, with rose and love and Valentine's Day. And you may have a certain relationship with what that is in the commercial world. But the essence of rose is a little bit different than that, and in fact, quite a lot deeper. So some of you may not know this, but rose bushes have extremely deep roots. Some ancestral rose bushes can be as old as 200-300 years. Roses grow in temperate and tropical environments, and I live in Toronto. They grow here as well. We have wild roses here. And the beautiful thing is this: the roots of a rose bush grow very deep and are some of the strongest in the plant kingdom, in the genius of bush and shrub. And their medicine is that as storms and winters and frosts come, the wisdom of the plant is that the roots grow deeper and wider, strengthening it. So that when spring comes, when it's summer, when it's blossom time, the plant has enough nourishment to sustain it, to grow its thorns, and to risk its buds. And that is another layer of medicine of rose wisdom. The thorns. And again, this is that relationship between the heart and the mind. The thorns provide a layer of protection, but the protection is the plant is safe enough to blossom and flower into its full form. It is safe enough to blossom into its biggest, brightest, silkiest, most fragrant, effulgent petals that create the flower that we have come to associate with love. But this love only grows when there is the necessary protection. It is not overprotective. It is not underprotective. It's just right. And that wisdom of what is just right, what is the necessary safety that I need to have around myself, around what I am protecting, around what I am creating, that it can flower, is the question. I know for me, especially when rose medicine was gifted to me, I felt very unsafe in the world, and especially unsafe around relationships. And so my mind would create judgments, patterns, paradigms, and limiting beliefs to keep myself safe, because inherently I felt fearful about, in a variety of situations. And so in coming to interface with rose medicine, in coming to drink the tea of rose petals, in coming to buying myself roses and sitting with the fragrance, meditating with it, using a rose infused face toner and fragrance, and sitting with the physical, mental, emotional, psychological medicine, my nervous system relaxed. And I was able to receive some of the ancestral wisdom that comes with this particular flower, this particular plant. And while we may drink tea of rose petals, the petal, and this is true for all plants, any part of a plant that we may consume or we may enjoy, even if it is visually sitting with the beauty of a fresh rose, this is of course a dried one. When we learn to listen and attune to the subtle energies, we then receive the wisdom of the whole plant. It is one of the beautiful things with the beauty way, especially because it honors the wholeness that is you, the wholeness that is me, the wholeness that is the wisdom of the rose bush in its entirety. And that is the interface that we can draw into ourselves. And that is in fact what calms the nervous system and helps us ground and return home to ourselves. And this is so important because it is the perfect and right medicine in the time of chaos. When we feel like there's a storm in our lives, there's so much chaos in the world, we're really in our heads, we are drawn into the masculine principle, we are drawn into disappointment and fixing and not knowing and worry and future anxieties, or we're stuck in cycles of the past. And when we interface with a medicine that reminds us of the roots and the ground that I am, you are, we are, like the medicine of rose, our nervous system relaxes. It shifts from the sympathetic processing system into the rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system, and we can sit and we can shift into a place of receiving life for a few moments and allowing things to settle. This is the wisdom of being the center of the storm, of being the eye of the storm, or of being strong roots on a windy day, so that every wind doesn't blow us off our center. And so if that has been some of your experience in the last few weeks, if that is something that is happening in your life, if that is something that you are feeling, maybe you're not feeling it personally, maybe you're feeling it on a collective level, the invitation today is to return to the soil, is to return to the roots this Taurus season. And again, the tenet of the beauty way that we're exploring right now is the relationship to the environment. To the environment, where the bigger the storm, the more we ground, the more we actually become resilient. And isn't that a different perspective shift, a different reframe on the chaos of the world, where the chaos invites us into deeper stillness, deeper rootedness, and reminding ourselves of our wholeness and drawing from the wisdom and medicine that exists, not just in plants and flowers, but maybe it exists in a different area in your life. I come from a herbalism background, so for me, I draw a lot of wisdom and medicine from working emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually with plant medicines such as rose. But for you, it might look differently. But if you are curious, I invite you, especially this week as the moon is in its waning form. We're coming to the new moon in Taurus, to sit with a nice cup of tea, if possible, rose tea, but your favorite tea that supports your nervous system and allows you to sit and ground into the reality of where you are. That is the invitation. I hope you will come along with me through the coming weeks of Taurus season as we explore new plant allies and different tenets of the beauty way. I will see you then.